Here I'm going to show you how 4 with an exponent equal to 1.5 equals the square root of 64. In a previous example, we showed how when you have a number with an exponent that is not an integer, you can change that into a fraction, and then that fraction you can change it into a radical or a root. So first, if we have 4 with an exponent equal to 1.5, we must express that as a fraction in order to change it to a radical or a root. So 1.5 equals 3 over 2. The fraction 3 divided by 2, or 3 over 2, exactly the same thing as 1.5. So we use that. We use 4 with an exponent equal to 3 over 2. Now remember, the base number becomes the radicand. Base number is going to go inside of the radical sign. Here the 4 goes inside of the radical sign. The numerator of the fraction that is the exponent, the number on top of the fraction, on the top part of the fraction, becomes the exponent of the radicand. So the 3, and only the 3, becomes the exponent of the 4 that is located inside of the radical sign. And the denominator, which is a 2, it becomes the grade of the root. So what we have now is that we change from 4 with an exponent of 1.5, 4 with an exponent of 3 over 2, to the square root of 4 cubed, 4 with an exponent 3, 4 to the third power. Now, remember that a root with grade 2 is the square root, and if I want to, I can choose to ignore writing the number 2, because a radical sign without any number in the grade equals the square root. So this expression, which has the number 2 on the outside of the radical sign, is exactly the same thing as this one that has no number on the outside. Both of them are the square root of 4 cubed. And remember, what is 4 cubed? It's nothing more than 4 multiplied by itself a total of 3 times. 4 times 4 times 4 again. And what is that? Well, now we see the number again. It's the same thing. All of these are square roots. Anyway, 4 times 4 times 4 equals 16. 4 times 4 is 16, and times 4 again equals 64. Sorry for saying 16 previously. 4 times 4 times 4 is 4 cubed, and that equals 64. So now we see that we have the square root of 64. Again, the same thing. You can choose to write the number 2 as the grade of the root, or ignore it, because a root of grade 2 is the square roots. Now, what is the square root of 64? Remember that the square root of any number is what number do I have to multiply by itself in order to get the radicand, the number inside of the root. So what number do I have to multiply by itself that equals 64, or express it in another way, what number squared equals 64? Well, the answer is 8. 8 times 8 equals 64. 8 squared equals 64. So the square root of 64 is 8. And now we see how all of these expressions are same. They're all equal. 4 with an exponent of 0.5 is the same thing as 4 with an exponent of 3 over 2. It's just the same 1.5 expressed as a fraction, which is the same thing as the square root of cube, or the root of grade 2 of 4 cubed, which is also the same thing as the square root of 64, and the square root of 64 is nothing more than 8. So 4 with an exponent of 1.5 equals 8.